Welcome to an overview of the city's minimum housing code. My name is Jane Talon and I'm your Code Enforcement Manager with Housing and Neighborhood Services. Today we're going to provide an overview of the city's housing code and the options available to the Code Enforcement Division when a structure is found to be in violation of the city's housing code. We will review the housing code process, the minimum standards of fitness, and the NREM process. One of the responsibilities of the Code Enforcement Division is to enforce the city's housing code. The housing code outlines the process that is required when a structure is found to be in violation of the city's housing code, as well as the minimum standards of fitness, which are the most basic living conditions for residents. The housing code applies to single-family and multifamily dwellings, along with rooming houses and lodging establishments. The housing code provides a process for interim remedy that could result in the city repairing a property or demolishing a property. A minimum housing code case is received through a tenant complaint, a petition, a public agency referral, or a field observation can be conducted by staff. Upon receipt of a request, the inspector will contact the citizen to schedule a time for an inspection, or upon the identification of a field observation, the inspector will send an access letter to the property owner. If an owner refuses access to a property or is unresponsive, the inspector will secure an administrative warrant for access. Once the inspector has gained access to the structure, a comprehensive inspection will be conducted. The comprehensive inspection includes the exterior, interior, attic, and crawl space. If the inspector identifies violations, a report will be generated and the owner will be sent a complaint and notice of hearing. The complaint and notice of hearing is a required legal notice which informs the owner that code enforcement has inspected the property and has alleged that code violations exist. The notice also schedules a hearing, which is an opportunity for the owner to dispute the allegations or provide evidence that the violations have been corrected. The hearing must be conducted no more than 30 days after serving the complaint and notice of hearing. The hearing is open to the public and attendance is optional. At the time of the inspection, if the inspector identifies violations that are defined as imminently dangerous, the owner has 48 hours to correct the violation. If the violation is not corrected within 48 hours, the resident will be eligible for a referral to the Emergency Relocation Program. The resident will be referred to a partner agency for eligibility. The violations that trigger a referral are rotted, fire-damaged, or insect-damaged steps, flooring, or structural supports, fire hazard in a chimney that is in use, unsafe wiring, unsafe ceiling or roof, no potable water supply, no operable heating equipment during November, December, January, February, or March, no operable sanitary facilities, severe rat infestation where the place of habitation is not impervious to pests, no safe, continuous, and unobstructed exit from the interior of the building to the exterior at street or grade level, no access provided to all rooms within a dwelling unit without passing through a public space, any window or door providing access to any dwelling unit or rooming unit lacking an operable lock, or the owner failing to provide a change of locks or keys to a new tenant of such dwelling unit or rooming unit, no operable smoke detector or alarm. Every place of habitation shall comply with the current county health regulations governing carbon monoxide alarms. Once the hearing is conducted, the inspector will issue a finding of fact and order. The finding of fact and order will set a compliance date 30 days from the hearing date, and the order will be either a repair order or a demolition order based on the cost estimate. If the repairs are less than 65% of the structure's tax value, the structure is considered deteriorated and a repair order is issued. If the repairs exceed 65% of the structure's tax value, the structure is considered dilapidated and a demolition order is issued. For example, if the cost estimate is $67,000 and the structure's tax value is $100,000, then the repair cost is 67% and the cost exceeds 65% of the structure's tax value, so a demolition order is issued. Another example, if the cost estimate is $25,000 and the structure's tax value is $100,000, the repair cost is 25%, which is less than 65%, so a repair order is issued. Upon expiration of the order, staff must make a decision on how to proceed based on the current status of the case. The options available to staff include issuing a uniform citation for environmental court, issuing a notice of civil penalty, which is currently $100 for the first day and $10 for each additional day, which goes to $100 per day starting January 1st of 2020, until the structure is brought into compliance, or prepare the case for City Council to approve an in-rem demolition or an in-rem repair. A notice of civil penalty is issued when an owner is non-compliant, unresponsive to requests, is unable to be located, and/or is located out of state. A notice of civil penalty can be issued for either a repair order or a demolition order. The notice of civil penalty puts an owner on notice that they are being fined for non-compliance with the ordinance. Code enforcement does not issue civil penalties to owner occupants. An owner is cited to environmental court when they are non-compliant, and they can be served with a uniform citation. The uniform citation must be served in person to the owner by a Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officer. The Code Enforcement Division's last option to gain compliance is to bring a case to City Council for approval. The two types of cases that would be brought to City Council are in-rem repair and in-rem demolition. The city's housing code identifies the minimum standards which a dwelling must meet for it to be considered habitable. The standards of fitness are categorized as space and use, which establishes minimum room area sizes allowable for dwellings, based on floor area of habitable rooms. Habitable rooms include rooms for living, sleeping, or eating. Minimum ceiling heights and dimensions are also established, and criteria is set forth for basements which are being used as habitable rooms. Minimum window sizes are in this section, and additional requirements include enclosing toilet and bathing facilities, access to rooms, requirements for doors, locks, smoke, and carbon monoxide detectors. The next section is light and ventilation, which establishes minimum openable window sizes, operation, condition, glazing, and screening requirements. It sets forth standards of operability for kitchen exhaust equipment, closed dryer vents, and ducts. Kitchen vents and dryer vents are both new requirements. The next section is exit requirements, which requires that there be two main exits, unless there is an exemption for one exit in the state building code. This section also requires minimum sizes for exits, and that exits and exit ways be unobstructed and safe. The next section is plumbing facilities, which prohibits leaks at showers and pipes and fixtures. This section requires a potable, drinkable water supply, along with protection from freezing for water pipes. This section requires hot water facilities, which are adequate and safe. Floor surfaces in bathrooms must be constructed and maintained to be reasonably impervious to water and easily kept clean. A toilet, bathing area, lavatory, and kitchen sink are required in all dwellings. The next section is heating facilities, which requires that all dwellings be weatherproof. Heating facilities must be provided and be safe and maintained. Minimum temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Space heaters are allowed only for supplemental heating. Air conditioning, if provided by the owner, must be safe, maintained, and operate as originally intended. In addition, chimneys, flue pipes, fireplaces, hearths must be maintained in safe and operable condition. The next section is electrical facilities, which requires all switches, receptacles, ceiling fixtures, and wiring be in safe and safely operable condition. Extension cords cannot be over 6 feet in length, and circuits or fuses cannot be bridged or oversized. Minimal outlets and installed light fixtures are a requirement. The next section is structural standards, which requires that structural components and foundations be adequate and in good condition. Flooring must be reasonably level and not defective or loose. Siding must be weather-tight and in good condition. Interior, ceiling, and wall finishes must be free of stains or moisture damage, and roof framing and sheathing must be in good condition and properly installed. Proper roof flashing is required. Roof leaks are prohibited. Roof drainage is required to be adequate. Gutters and downspouts must operate as intended. Stairs are required to be uniform in height and width. Stairways and steps are required to be maintained in a safe condition. The next section is property maintenance, which requires maintenance of exterior areas, including accessory structures, fences, yards, and courts. Adequate facilities for garbage and rubbish must be provided. This section also requires that kitchen and bathroom countertops and cabinets be easily maintained and operate as intended. The last section is insulation, which requires a minimum of R19 insulation in the ceiling of the top floor of up to a 3-story structure. There is no insulation requirement in the housing code for structures of 4 or more stories. A case is brought to City Council for approval when all other options have been exhausted. The first type of case that could be brought to City Council for approval is an in-rem repair. A case meets the criteria for in-rem repair when the cost to complete the repairs is less than 65% of the structure's tax value. According to the Housing Code, the city would have to demonstrate that the owner has no intention to make the repairs before City Council could approve the request. Once the request is approved, staff facilitates the repair process and bills the owner for the work. If the owner fails to pay the invoice, the city places a lien on the property. The second type of case that would be brought to City Council for approval is an in-rem demolition. A case meets the criteria for in-rem demolition when the cost to complete the repairs is more than 65% of the structure's tax value. The Code Enforcement Division seeks in-rem demolition when the owner fails to comply with a demolition order by either demolishing or repairing the structure, and the cost to repair the structure exceeds 65% of the structure's tax value. Once the request is approved, staff facilitates the demolition process and bills the owner for the work. If the owner fails to pay the invoice, the city places a lien on the property. In this video, you learned more about the city's minimum housing code and available options. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to working with you.